مرحبا. Good evening, everybody.
Goodbye.
I'm happy to meet you again. And we are going to explain and analyze new chapter, which is chapter 2. If you remember the previous lecture, we talked about chapter 1. Chapter 1. I am going now to give you or to repeat the main ideas of the chapter, especially for those who haven't attended our previous lecture. This is Lord of the Flies. This is a cover of one of the editions. You see, each chapter there is what? There is a title. But there is what? There is a title. And the title is very, very important because it will help you to understand what the chapter is about. If you have a book and the book is without title, you will not be able to understand what is it about. But if it has a title, this will help you actually at least to know some details of the book. So chapter 1, the title of chapter 1 is what? Is the sound of the shell. Is the sound?
Conch shell. No.
Yes, the conch. And if we read it, the chapter, you'll find that many details are about the shell. Another point of chapter 1 is a plane crushed and crashed on a deserted island, and this plane carries boys, British boys. All the passengers, كل الركاب of the plane are boys. There are no adults, no mature people with them. So it seems to me that it is very difficult for them to manage to live on this island because they have no real experience in life. This is one point. The second point, the boys try to organize their life, try to impose order, نظام ينظمون حياتهم. So they elect a chief. They elect ينتخب chief مسؤول أو رئيس. The name of this chief is Ralph. Ralph. Later we will know that Ralph is the symbol of civilization. He is the protagonist of the novel. He is the opposite of Jack. He is the opposite of Jack, which represents, or who represents evil or the dark side of life. From this moment, there begins a conflict. A conflict between the two. On the beach, while they were walking, and this is another important point, while they were walking on the beach, Piggy, P-I-G-G-Y, you know, I told you previous lecture something about Piggy, the boy with the glasses, the fat man, or sorry, the fat boy. He found a shell, a conch shell, mahara, and they used this shell as a sign or as a signal for meeting. When Ralph or Piggy or Jack blow the conch shell, this means that there is what? There is meeting. Suddenly, our Piggy blows, ينفخ بالconch shell, and there was meeting. In the meeting, they decide to explore. They decide to explore the island. Explore, يستكشف الجزيرة, to know whether there is food, there is fruits, there is water, إلى آخره. The explorer اللي هو جاك, سيمون and Ralph, they begin their job of exploring the island, and they found, or they tried to catch a pig, but the pig managed to escape. This is briefly the main ideas, the main points of chapter 1. Now I move to chapter 2. I told you, or I have told you, that Jack, Simon, and Ralph went out exploring the island, but they couldn't find anything, and even their attempt to catch a pig failed. So the three explorers, مستكشفين الثلاثة, return. And when they return, Ralph blows the conch shell, calling the boys to another meeting on the beach. Another meeting on the beach. كل ما يدق البوق, this means that there is what? There is a meeting. Ralph, who represents civilization and order, tells the boy, he tells them that there are no adults on the island. And that they should organize their life. Jack reminds Ralph of the pig they found trapped in the bush or vines or bush. الفاينز هي كومة مثل خلينا نقول مثل العنب اللي يتشلق. هناك كان اكو خنزير but they couldn't catch. Ralph agrees, يوافق, and he says to the boy that they really in need of eating meat. There is a custom among the boys who is going to use the conch shell first. One of the younger boys or they actually suggested that the one who holds the conch has the right to blow the conch. يعني من هو إلى الحق أن ينفخ بهذه المحارة. They say that the one who holds it, اللي كل من يحملها هو الحق, and he has a right to speak, to be the first speaker. One of the boys, now here there is rising action. There is rising action. The events become more complicated. One of the boys says that or claims that he has seen a monster at night. قال اكو وحش بالليل هيطلع. And because they are boys, they all are frightened. They are frightened by the idea of the monster. But at the same time, there is another group of boys who believe that there is no monster at all. Some boys claim that they have seen or heard sound of a monster. Other group of boys say, no, there is no such thing. Ralph, another which is very important point here, Ralph suggests that the boys or the group of boys should build a large signal fire on top of the island central mountain. There was an island, there was a mountain on the island, and they suggested that they should make fire in order to attract the attention of passing ships so that they can be rescued by these passing ships. Therefore, the boys collected great quantity of woods and they made fire The boys managed to get a large fire going, but it quickly dies down. خمدة النار. Jack says that he will act with his group in order to rekindle the fire. Rekindle يعني إعادة اشتعال النار, and to keep the signal fire going. Again, the fire dies down, and Piggy accuses, يتهم one of the little boys who was responsible to watch the fire to ignore, to sleep. خلى واحد يراقب النار كل ما تنطفي خلي هذه. But he was unable, the boy was unable to continue, and that's why the fire dies out. The boys are gloomy because they were unable to keep the fire. They are frightened and they are gloomy, and Ralph is struck with shame. خجل. This is in a brief the main ideas of chapter 2. The end of chapter 2 witness the rise of conflict between Jack and Ralph, because the boys were unable to keep the fire on for a long time. They actually began to argue يتناقشون جاك and Ralph. هذا يقول له أنت السبب وهذا يقول له أنت السبب. And the chapter witness the rise of the conflict, the complication, beginning of the complication of the events, which will be more complicated in chapter 3. Now, after this, I'll let you see or watch a video about chapter 2, delivered by British accent.
Lord of the Flies, summary of chapter 2, Fire on the Mountain. Ralph blows the conch shell to call all of the boys. He wants to tell them what he, Jack, and Simon have discovered. Ralph tells the boys that they are definitely on the island. He, Jack, and Simon have been on the mountaintop and have seen water all around. They saw no houses, no smoke, no footprints, no boats, no people. There were no adults to help them. There were pigs that Jack and his choir would have to hunt. Jack says the first pig got away, but he will kill the next one. Ralph tells the boys that they must have order at meetings. They should raise their hands if they wish to speak, just like at school. Each speaker will be given the conch shell to hold while speaking. Piggy grabs the conch shell from Ralph at the same time that Jack excitedly is agreeing with Ralph that they need to have rules. Piggy says that no one knows where they are and the boys may be on the island for a very long time. Everyone becomes silent. Ralph smiles and says the island is a good one with food and water. He says the boys will have fun while they wait for adults to find them. Ralph says it will be just like stories in books, and the other boys call out titles of famous books: Treasure Island, Swallows and Amazons, and Coral Island. The little boys push forward a little 6-year-old boy who reaches out a hand for the conch shell. The older boys laugh, and the little boy cries. Piggy yells at Ralph, telling him to give the conch to the little boy. Ralph finally does, but the little boy is so upset that he can barely speak. Piggy kneels down by the boy and tells the others what the boy says.